To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. In this video, we will discuss a summary of Chapter 16 and Chapter 17, followed by an analysis of the chapters. Chapter 16 Summary. The trial begins the next day. People from all over the county flood the town. Everyone makes an appearance in the courtroom, from Miss Stephanie Crawford to Mr. Dolphus Raymond, a wealthy eccentric who owns land on a river bank, lives near the county line, is involved with a black woman, and has mulatto children. Only Miss Maudie refuses to go, saying that watching someone on trial for his life is like attending a Roman carnival. The vast crowd camps in the town square to eat lunch. Afterward, Jem, Scout, and Dill wait for most of the crowd to enter the courthouse so that they can slip in at the back and thus prevent Atticus from noticing them. However, because they wait too long, they succeed in getting seats only when Reverend Sykes lets them sit in the balcony where black people are required to sit in order to watch the trial. From these seats, they can see the whole courtroom. Judge Taylor, a white-haired old man with a reputation for running his court in an informal fashion, presides over the case. Chapter 17 Summary. The prosecutor, Mr. Gilmer, questions Heck Tate, who recounts how, on the night of November 21st, Bob Ewell urged him to go to the Ewell house and told him that his daughter Mayella had been raped. When Tate got there, he found Mayella bruised and beaten, and she told him that Tom Robinson had raped her. Atticus cross-examines the witness, who admits that no doctor was summoned, and tells Atticus that Mayella's bruises were concentrated on the right side of her face. Tate leaves the stand, and Bob Ewell is called. Bob Ewell and his children lived behind the town garbage dump in a tin-roofed cabin with a yard full of trash. No one is sure how many children Ewell has, and the only orderly corner of the yard is planted with well-tended geraniums rumored to belong to Mayella. An extremely rude little man, Ewell testifies that on the evening in question he was coming out of the woods with a load of kindling when he heard his daughter yelling. When he reached the house, he looked in the window and saw Tom Robinson raping her. Robinson fled, and Ewell went into the house, saw that his daughter was all right, and ran for the sheriff. Atticus's cross-examination is brief. He asks Mr. Ewell why no doctor was called, it was too expensive and there was no need, and then has the witness write his name. Bob Ewell, the jury sees, is left-handed, and a left-handed man would be more likely to leave bruises on the right side of a girl's face. Chapters 16 and 17 Analysis. The trial is the most gripping, and in some ways the most important, dramatic sequence in To Kill a Mockingbird. The testimony and deliberations cover about 5 chapters with almost no digression. Additionally, the courtroom scene, with Atticus picking apart the Ewells as the whole town watches, is the most cinematic portion of the narrative, and it is the centerpiece of the 1962 film version of the novel. Though the trial targets Tom Robinson, in another sense it is Maycomb that is on trial, and while Atticus eventually loses the court case, he successfully reveals the injustice of a stratified society that confines black people to the colored balcony and allows the word of a despicable, ignorant man like Bob Ewell to prevail without question over the word of a man who happens to be black. In the trial conducted in the courtroom, Atticus loses. In the trial conducted in the mind of the reader, it is the white community, wallowing in prejudice and hatred, that loses. It is fitting that the children end up sitting in the colored section of the courthouse, just as it is fitting that Miss Maudie refuses to attend the trial. All 3 lack the racism that the crowd of white faces in the courtroom propagates. Jem, Scout, and Dill are segregated even from the other children, who have taunted Jem and Scout for loving black people. That the trial scene creates such an atmosphere of suspense is testimony to the author's skill, because there is no real suspense, even Atticus knows that the verdict is a foregone conclusion. No matter what evidence is presented at the trial, the racist jury would never, under any circumstances, acquit a black man accused of raping a white woman. The reader knows that Tom Robinson will be found guilty, so Lee locates the tension and suspense elsewhere, in Atticus's slow but steady dismantling of the prosecution's case. Jem, still clinging to his youthful illusions about life working according to concepts of fairness, doesn't understand that his father's brilliant efforts will be in vain. He believes that the irrefutable implications of the evidence will clinch the case for Atticus. When Jem says, "We've got him," after Bob Ewell is shown to be left-handed, the reader knows better. Atticus, like Mrs. Dubose in her battle with morphine, is licked before he begins. Bob Yule's real name is Robert E. Lee Yule, a moniker that links him with the South's past and makes him absurd by comparison with his namesake, General Robert E. Lee, who fought valiantly for the Confederacy in the Civil War despite his opposition to slavery. If Robert E. Lee represents the idealized South, then Bob Yule epitomizes its darker and less respectable side, dominated by thoughtless prejudice, squalor, and meanness. Atticus's admonition to Scout that she should increase her tolerance by stepping inside other people's shoes does not apply to Bob Yule. When Atticus tries to do so later, he only underestimates the depth of this little man's wickedness. The irony, of course, is that Bob Yule is completely unimportant. He is an arrogant, lazy, abusive fool, laughed at by his fellow townsfolk. Yet in the racist world of Maycomb, sadly, even he has the power to destroy an innocent man, perhaps the novel's most tragic example of the threat posed to innocence by evil. If this video helped you, don't forget to give it a like, comment, and subscribe for more helpful content.